Some of you may have used SQL Data Warehouse before, and some of you may have heard about Synapse Analytics as a new tool provided on the Azure cloud. So why Synapse Analytics is beyond SQL Data Warehouse? Let's understand that. Uh, Simon made a great presentation video for me. Thank you very much for that. On the right side, you can see my contact. Feel free to get in touch. It will be a pleasure to connect on this contact. Later I put them again. So, why am I making this question on the title of the session? Why Synapse Analytics, what Synapse Analytics, and how Synapse works. So, why am I asking in relation to Synapse Analytics and SQL Data Warehouse? Because before we had SQL Data Warehouse. Then Synapse Analytics appeared, was launched, and SQL Data Warehouse was not discontinued. Let's say discontinued, although it's not exactly, sorry. It was not exactly like this. So what really happened between SQL Data Warehouse and Synapse Analytics? Why Synapse Analytics? Synapse Analytics is for big data warehouse, exactly as SQL Data Warehouse. And there was a problem before with the name of the SQL Data Warehouse because most people confused it. Most people think, oh, since there is a product called SQL Data Warehouse, I will use to build my data warehouse and that is it. But this is not true, not exactly true. SQL Data Warehouse is used for data warehouse, it is, but it is used for huge data warehouse, very big data warehouse, because the SQL Data Warehouse is an MPP platform, massive parallel processing. SQL Data Warehouse is able to get our requests and break down our request in many different nodes and then get the result, join the result, and give us the result. So it's not for something small, it's for a very big environment. So uh, many people mistaken the name, thinking data warehouse needs to be there. No, it doesn't. Data warehouse can be on any SQL database. It can be on Azure SQL, can be in a SQL virtual machine, not a problem. It only needs the SQL data warehouse when it becomes big. It becomes very big. Then we have data lakes. Uh, when the internet arrived, the concept of the data lake arrived as well. Why? Because the internet brought us huge amounts of data, and huge amounts of data that most times were unstructured. Logs of websites, for example, is a good example of unstructured data that may be useful to analyze our customers' behavior. And then we started using data lakes. Data lake has this name because the huge amount of data that we put inside the data lake is not is not possible to move this huge amount of data. Possible always is, but would you like to move huge amount of data to make some processing? No. So the data lake keeps the data there. We don't move the data. We store the data in the data lake and we don't move more the data. Then we make the applications point to the data lake. And if we want to make a data lake, we would use Spark and Databricks. Spark and Databricks to make a data lake. And to receive all this data, we are talking about big data warehouse, we're talking about data lake. How does data get into this environment? For the data to get into this environment, we'll use some ETL solution or ingestion solution. And for this, we have the data factory. Data factory is a solution for that. Then we have machine learning, the need of machine learning. We need to generate some intelligence for this data. And how can we do that? We can use Azure ML. Visualization, we need to visualize the data. We use Power BI to visualize the data. Data lake house. The idea of a data lake house is to be able to manage all this data. The big data warehouses that are a structured set of data, and the data lake that is an unstructured set of data. So we have a data lake house. How can we implement a data lake house? Using Alt Tab. What I mean about using Alt Tab, I mean that you need to put all these tools together and keep moving from one to another. That's it. So you would need to put all these tools together to build a data lake house. And if I talk about a virtual data lake house, this is even more complex because this happens on big corporations. Big corporations sometimes let their branches manage the data, and each branch starts to make some kind of data intelligence storage, maybe a data warehouse, maybe a data lake, and so on. But at some time in the future, the main office of the corporation would like to get the data, get information about how the company is going, and how this would happen, how this would be done. The point is, since each branch already built, let's say, a data lake, this data would not be moved. So the main office should create a virtual data lake, should virtualize a data lake, mapping the data that is on the branches as if it were in the main office. But it's not, but it will appear as it were in the main office. What tool should we use? We should only dream with it because there was no tool to build this before. And this is how we were. This is a picture from the 80s, but we were exactly like this. Take a look on the amount of tools that we were using. We're using all these tools. So exactly like this guy, using all these tools. And suddenly we transform everything. We will go ahead and transform everything in a single tool. We'll put everything together with a single tool. That's it. So now we can make all these tasks using Azure Synapse Analytics. That's the idea. So Azure Synapse Analytics achieves the purpose to make all these tasks. Manage big data warehouses, a data lake, the ETL, machine learning, visualization, data lake house, and virtual data lake house. So you will ask, so all these tools that all of us are using now, like Power BI, like Data Factory, are they being replaced by Synapse Analytics? No, no. It's not a replacement. Synapse Analytics is making like a partnership with these tools. A partnership with these tools in some way that you have a single point of access to all these tools. You go to a single place, you go to Synapse Analytics, and from Synapse Analytics, you access all these features that are provided by different tools. You have different tools to provide all these features, but now you have a single place to manage all of them. Very few tools were really incorporated in Synapse Analytics, and one of them is the SQL Datawarehouse. The old SQL Datawarehouse became one piece of the Azure Synapse Analytics. And this explains the question from the title of the session. Why Synapse Analytics is way beyond SQL Datawarehouse? When SQL Datawarehouse disappeared and Synapse Analytics was put as maybe many people would say a replacement, many people will get confused and think, oh, Synapse Analytics is SQL Datawarehouse and it's just a change of name. No, no. Azure Synapse Analytics is way more, as you are seeing on this slide, and the SQL Datawarehouse became a small piece of feature inside the Azure Synapse Analytics. So it's exactly like this picture where we replaced all the old gadgets from the 80s by a cell phone. A cell phone does all this. It's exactly the same. It was just in time to replace all those tools that and all those alt tab tasks that we need to keep jumping from tool to tool and so on by a single tool, Synapse Analytics. So what's Synapse Analytics? How does it work? In a single sentence, Synapse Analytics is the Azure virtual and physical data lakehouse solution. Mine data included both. We can use Synapse Analytics to make a physical data lakehouse, a virtual data lakehouse, or both together. We can build both together, no problem with that. And how Synapse Analytics works. So we have Synapse Analytics, and Synapse Analytics, when we provision Synapse Analytics in Azure, we'll be provisioning a Synapse Analytics workspace. Inside this Synapse Analytics workspace, we have the SQL On Demand, the SQL Pool, and Spark Pool. So we can work with Spark inside Synapse Analytics, manipulating data on our data lake. We can use SQL Pool. This SQL Pool, that's the SQL Data Warehouse. The old Azure SQL Data Warehouse became the SQL Pool inside the Synapse Analytics workspace. So that's it. SQL Pool is the SQL Data Warehouse. And then we have the SQL On Demand. SQL On Demand on Synapse Analytics is it's a mind-changing tool. Why? Because one thing that we were sure before Synapse Analytics is that if we had to use SQL Data Warehouse, we would pay lot amount of money, a huge amount of money. It's expensive. Well, SQL Data Warehouse was expensive. SQL Pool is not cheap. It's not cheap. But SQL On Demand is different. SQL On Demand basically is the ability for us to make SQL queries on demand without have something provisioned, without being charged by minute. We just execute the query when we would like, and we are charged by gigabyte that we transfer. Is something like as $5 by 10 gig or even by 1 tera, $5 by 1 tera for 1 terabyte of data transfer, something like that. I may be mistaken the value, but it's on this level of charge. So it's a very small amount that is charged, and this opens huge amount of possibilities because we can just provision a Synapse workspace and use SQL on demand to make SQL queries over our Azure Blob Storage. It's simple. Then we have Synapse Studio. Synapse Studio is the tool that managed to join everything together. The single tool. The other tools too. It's Synapse Studio. And this is basically the cell phone on the picture that I showed before. And inside Synapse Studio, besides the pools that are part of Synapse Analytics, we have data integration, the ETL part, how to ingest data inside Synapse Analytics. What is used for data integration? Data Factory. Synapse Analytics incorporated like a copy of Data Factory. So Data Factory works inside Synapse Analytics. It's Data Factory is like that. Power BI. Uh, of course, Synapse Analytics hasn't incorporated Power BI, but it made a very good partnership with Power BI. We can see Power BI Workspace inside Synapse Studio. We can see Power BI datasets inside Synapse Studio. We can turn our Synapse data on the SQL pools, on the Spark pool, into Power BI datasets and create new reports inside the Power BI workspace. So we have a very good integration with Power BI and Azure Machine Learning. Also using Synapse Studio, we can apply machine learning over our datasets in the Synapse workspace. So all these tools are integrated together using Synapse Analytics and using Synapse Studio as a tool to integrate everything. The main idea, the main challenge that made Microsoft to start this huge and absolutely great tool was the learning curve to manage all the data platform, data intelligence platform, data lake, data warehouse. So we had to use all these tools. How one person, one professional would learn all these tools at once. So Microsoft joined them, integrated them in a single place to make it easier and make the learning curve easier. So Azure SQL Datawarehouse became the SQL pool. This is just a change of name. But now we understand how Synapse Analytics is way beyond that, because SQL pool is just one element inside Synapse Analytics. Now let's go to some demonstrations. So I have here my Azure portal. Okay, and I have a Synapse workspace already provisioned. It's called Synapse Lake. So I have here the Synapse workspace provisioned. Let me open the Synapse workspace, Synapse Lake. And here we have the pools, SQL pools. I have the SQL pool called built-in. This is the SQL on demand. So I can integrate and make a query over my blob storage or any data source that I would like. It doesn't store data, but it queries the data. And we have the dedicated SQL pool, which is the SQL Datawarehouse. It's in pause. It's paused. So we have here two SQL pools, and I have also an Apache Spark pool. So my Spark pool And I can also use the Spark pool with Synapse Analytics. So without these features, I can use Synapse Analytics from many sources if I would like to use from other kind of sources, or the SQL clients or Spark clients or something else. So I have here the addresses. I have the address of the dedicated SQL pool, the serverless SQL pool, and so on. I have here separate addresses for every pool I have, but the way to use all of them together is to use Synapse Studio. So I can open and use Synapse Studio. It's opening. Here, here it is, the Synapse Studio. And the beginning is already great news for us. Take a look on how Synapse Studio managed to do exactly what I explained. New. I can create on Synapse Studio. From Synapse Studio, I can create a SQL script, a notebook, a data flow, Apache Spark job, Power BI report, or a pipeline, a data factory pipeline. I can create all of these from Synapse Studio. So I'm dealing with many different tools that before we would need to learn each one and work with each one individually. Now I have all of them working from the Synapse Studio environment. And to make things even better, way better, we have this learn option. The idea is to reduce the learning curve. So we have this learn option here in Synapse Studio. And let me browse the gallery. We use the option to browse gallery. So you have a good idea of what I'm talking about. First idea is to ingest data. So if I will ingest data, I have pipelines. What we have here are pipeline templates for data factory, but not for the regular data factory that you know. They are the same. They are the same. But these will be created inside Synapse Analytics. These pipelines can be created inside Synapse Analytics. And I'm not saying that you can only create these templates. No, these templates are here to make your life easier. If you are in a scenario that fits with one of these templates, you only need to fill the gaps, fill the parameters, the missing data, and you will have the pipeline ready. But there is nothing preventing you from creating a pipeline from a blank environment. So we have the pipelines for the data factory. We have SQL scripts here. Many examples of SQL scripts. Some of them using the on-demand pool, some of them using the provisioned pool. Uh, Many examples of what you can do to process your data using both Synapse pools. And we have notebooks, Spark notebooks. Again, many templates to use Spark to process your data. That's absolutely great. But if these were not enough, we have the datasets. What are these datasets? These are public data sets offered by Microsoft, many of them offered by Microsoft, that can be used to uh, test the Synapse Analytics features. You can get information about COVID, you can get information about New York taxi, and many different data sets available for you to test the Synapse features. You can get this data set and start testing the environment. First, since usually we need to first ingest something, let's take a look of the data flows and pipeline. I have many things already developed here. Yes, we can develop something. We can develop scripts, notebooks, data flows, and even Power BI reports or data sets, and store them inside Synapse Analytics. Let's get the data flow. I have a data flow here where the import. This is importing data from a public storage Microsoft has containing weather information. See, who already worked with Data Factory is recognizing this going. It's Data Factory. Yes, it is Data Factory inside Synapse Analytics to make our life easier. But a data flow don't work by itself. It needs a pipeline. So we have pipelines as well. We have the data factory pipelines. So we can build data factory pipelines. We can build data factory data flows inside Synapse Analytics. That's great. Now let's get back to the beginning. I'll get to learn, browse gallery, and let's start with SQL script. I will analyze Azure Open Datasets using serverless SQL pool. Continuing. It's showing me the script, what the script requires. And let's open the script. It is connecting.
Maybe you would like to lab
Waiting.
next 5 to 10
Okay.
minutes if that's possible.
10 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Yeah, it's possible. So I'm connected to the built-in, which is the serverless environment. And I have database on the serverless environment, but what is interesting to note is that take a look on a database on this SQL on-demand environment inside Synapse. We don't have tables. We have external tables. We point to external places, but there is no tables. That's the point. The on-demand environment access data outside the environment, but don't store data. And here, let's take a look. I'm getting data from Azure Open Data Storage. I'm getting data from New York Taxi. And I'm using the open row set function in bulk to get this data. And the data is on Parquet format. It will read the data from all the files in the folders and bring it to me. So I execute. The selection sometimes fail. Select again, execute. There it is. It just made the query a SQL query over a data storage managed by Microsoft, an Azure data storage managed by Microsoft. I have no idea where the data storage is. I only have the URL to the Azure data storage, Azure storage, and I'm reading the data. That's it. I don't need to be on a database, on a custom database to do that. The open role set works without one specific database. Then in this other example, I'm reading holiday data. The first one was reading trip data from New York taxi trips. Now I'm reading holiday data, holiday information, and weather information. I have all these here. Great. And let's make something more interesting. In this example, I'm filtering the data between the years 2009 and 2019, grouping by year to identify how many taxi rides happen on each year. And it's even more interesting the fact that I'm using a filter based on the path of the files, because the files are broken down in different folders for each year. And I'm extracting one variable, this star. I'm extracting variables from the path and testing these variables to get the data of the amount of taxi rides made by year. So I can have my data lake stored in an Azure Blob Storage, and I can read the Blob Storage using a server on-demand Synapse pool, and this charged me about $5 by terabyte transfer, something like that. It's very cheap. While it's executing, and since I'm short on time, let's open Learn again, browse gallery, notebooks. I'll open the first example of notebook, and here I have a Spark notebook. It's a very simple notebook, making some graphics, building some data. It's not reading from anywhere. It's building some data and making some graphics using Spark. And this notebook is using PySpark. I can run. This will take a while to run because my Spark pool is not active. So it will enable the Spark pool immediately and take some time to run. While it's running, it seems this thing is especially slow today. 1 minute and 45 to read this data it's not something usual. Let me see if I have better example here. Oh, sorry, I opened the wrong script. Sorry. That's why the example was failing. But let's see if it. Now it's okay. Now it's already finished. So I can show something that can be done here. I have the number of taxi rides by year. And the point is, the interface also help us a lot. I can build a chart on the interface. I can change the type of the chart to a column chart. I prefer a column chart. And then define the category columns, current year, and legend as rides by year. So we can see here the taxi rides by year, and we see that about 2013 and 14 the rides started declining. Probably this is when the companies like Uber start operating, so the taxi rides start declining year after year. And just by making one query over our data lake, I'm able to analyze that, and that's great. And last but not least, we have Power BI here. I can integrate a workspace in Power BI. In my scenario, will not perfectly work because I have an account problem here, but we can see Power BI data sets, we can see Power BI report, but it will not open this report because an account problem that I have. But it's here, an integration with Power BI as well, and I can even transform some data set that I have to a Power BI data set and use to build the report. That's the idea. That's the idea, to have everything in a single place inside Synapse Studio. I hope this gave you all a better idea of how Synapse Analytics works, why Synapse Analytics is not only a change of name from SQL Data Warehouse, and how that we can achieve by using Synapse Analytics. On the screen you have my contacts. Feel free to connect, to get in touch. It will be a pleasure to connect.